So welcome everybody to Z-Axis TV. I'm Leah Zalams, your host. We're an executive coach of leadership and sales excellence, and particularly in the technology and science industries. And on Z-Axis TV, I interview experts in their field and we talk all things that we currently need to be successful in today's climate in terms of leadership and sales. And today I have a very special guest with us, Alex Opacic, if I've got that right, who is
good.
the founder, oh good, Opacic, love it.
Nice.
Who is the founder of Athlete2business Recruitment, and is also a former professional basketball player, and also has had a very, very successful career in media sales. And one of the reasons I've invited you on, Alex, is because you are at the cutting edge of entrepreneurship and of blending all the aspects of leadership and sales and making money in a really difficult current climate. We've just heard, you know, that we are technically in a recession in Australia. There are at least 3 million Australians also on top of that who during this COVID-19 time have decided they want to change careers, but to what and where? So there's a lot of focus then on how do we then differentiate ourselves in the market when we're going for that next role, or indeed trying to start a business or get that next gig, whether it be a contract or permanent. So, and I wanted to specifically focus today on how we do this online branding, the online presence and development of that, and leverage that to facilitate our sales process, if you like, of identifying and going for those roles and gigs, and then actually differentiating ourselves from that. So that's sort of the focus of where we want to go in the next 30 minutes. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, perfect. Definitely. I'm very excited to be on. So no, thank you for having me on.
Brilliant. So perhaps if we can just start with a little bit of a overview from yourself of, you know, who you are, who you serve, and perhaps, you know, what you see as your competitive edge.
Yeah, definitely.
In the market
Thanks
right now.
Yeah, no, so thank you for that lovely introduction. That was great. So as you touched on, I used to be. So I'll give you a quick background of myself, and it'll kind of tie into what I do now and what the business is about. But so I used to be a former professional basketball player for about 8 years. I started off here in Australia, in Canberra, at the Australian Institute of Sport. Then moved on to the States, where I was a college basketball player in South Carolina for 4 years, and then graduated with a communication degree. And then was lucky enough to get a couple of professional gigs in Europe, where I played mainly across Eastern Europe. You probably would have noticed my background is Eastern European. So I was born in Croatia, actually. So I played there, played in Macedonia, Cyprus, and Greece. And then finished up my career here in Australia for 3 years. When I finished with basketball, I actually had a pretty tough transition into my next phase of life. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, where to go, who to turn to for help, even how to go about it. And most unfortunately, I guess I felt really worthless and lost and confused and completely lost. You know, when you're an elite athlete, you got this massive sense of confidence, ability about yourself, like you're on top of the world, right? And then
you've got a brand. You've got a really specific brand that identifies you.
Yeah.
And that you're completely ensconced in for that time as well.
Exactly. And not just that, you're doing what you're passionate about, and you have this dream that you're constantly chasing. Whether you fail or succeed, it doesn't really matter. The fact that you have a dream and you're following it, it just keeps you alive and energetic, and you wake up every day and you're like, I'm chasing this dream. You know, I want to play in the NBA, I want to play high level Europe, whatever it is. And when that came crashing down, it was just really hard to accept. Do you know what I mean? So I found it really, really tough to get used to my new life and what I wanted to do. And I had no dream anymore. You know, what was I striving towards what can I work hard in now? I don't know. So it was
Yeah, and I wonder if there was an element of enjoying the nature of the journey as well. You were loving your basketball. You loved everything about it. It
yeah,
was your whole life for all that time. And we see that with Olympic athletes as well, don't we?
yeah,
You
100%.
know, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then what happens when that ends? So what
Yeah.
happened?
Yes, like I said, I felt worthless mainly because I had no other passion, and it's my fault. Throughout my sporting career, all I cared about was basketball, and that's it. That's all I wanted to do. I never really kind of thought about a career outside of basketball, or yet. I mean, I did go to university and studied communication, but if I'm going to be honest, I didn't really apply myself like I should have. So I just kind of was lost and didn't really know where to go, what to do. And eventually, how I turned it around, I guess when your back's up against the wall, you just kind of figure it out. And what happened with me is I just accepted the fact that basketball was over. And then I learned to tap into that work ethic, that drive, the success factors that led you to succeed in sport. Mainly the work ethic from sports, all those high performing attributes that I had in sport. I learned to translate that into a business environment and just started performing well. Like things started turning around for me. Started doing so. I ended up landing in, as you mentioned at the start, into media sales, and I just learned to apply all my high performing habits from sport into my role as a media sales rep, and things started turning around for me. I started listening to podcasts, started listening to business books. And then along my journey, I started developing this new dream, I guess, new passion. And it was funny, along the journey, I didn't really know what that dream or what that passion was going to be. But I just said to myself, well, something will come if I just keep focusing on the now and keep working hard and just trying to be as successful as I can in whatever I'm doing. So all those high performing habits from sports started just coming to fruition in what I was doing at the time.
And I wonder too, Alex, sorry to interrupt you, but what I'm seeing is that you had that evidence already from your basketball career that you'd set big goals, you worked hard, you had a good run to achieve the university and opportunity in America and then playing in Europe. So you had evidence within yourself that you could do this. You could set a big dream and achieve it. And I wonder if that helped you to stay focused and keep your faith alive, because what we see is a lot of people giving up before they reach their goal, or they get disgruntled along the way. And this is where, when we can tease out what was it that kept you focused, even in that 18 months where you really were didn't know which way to go after you finished with basketball, there was still a thread there that led you to go one more time and give it your all.
Really good question. That's a really good question. I guess what was it that kind of kept me going? That thread that enabled me to give it another go and find something else. And luckily, I guess for me as an athlete, and most athletes know this, as an athlete, you really lose way more than you win. I don't know if everybody watched the recent Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance. He talks about it all the time. He's lost a lot more than he's won. So as an athlete, you're used to constantly losing, but what you're also used to is following a process, sticking to the process, regardless if you win or lose. You got this process that you really enjoy doing, and you just stick to the process, and you don't worry about. So what I say is I stick to the process without emotionally getting attached to the results. So whether, celebrate your wins here and there, and don't get too down on the losses. Just stay level-headed and keep going. That's normal, and that's what I did in sport as an athlete, and that's what I do in business as well. I lost a lot along the way, but I have faith in the process. If I just keep following this process, and along the way you can refine your process a little bit. But I'm a big advocate for trusting and following a process to achieve success outcomes.
And isn't that the same in sales? It's the same principle, that particularly when you do have a good process and you have that match of market need and a decent enough product, there is opportunity to win, and to win enough to meet your targets and exceed your targets. But again, you're going to lose so much more along the way in sales as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, and then you also so keep going.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. So along my journey, I started to learn what the process is to succeed in sales, and I think sales is a wonderful industry to get in, because it really teaches you how to run a business within a business. I think if you're able to make sales for somebody else long enough, and you learn how a business generates revenue, really, and if you're able to, if you have passions of doing something for yourself, then you can take that process into your own business or whatever it is. So along my journey, I noticed that a lot of other athletes, once they figure out how to translate those high-performing habits into the business space, they tend to be successful. They tend to do well. They tend to be high performers in the business environment. But I also noticed that a lot of athletes struggle with that transition from sport to business as well. So I put two and two together. I saw an opportunity there. I'm like, oh, interesting. Wow. I wonder if there's a recruitment agency around that actually connects these high-performing individuals, which are athletes, to business teams, to sales managers, hiring managers, and other business teams that could utilize the high-performing habits of athletes. And I thought, what a great opportunity, and I'm going to do it. So that's how I came across to my business now, because I saw a lot of value in what athletes bring to the business environment. And I'm pretty certain that businesses would see the value as well. Hiring managers, business teams would appreciate that value.
Without a doubt. And, again, when we look at the core attributes that, like any skill, anything is learnable, as we know these days, but there are some core attributes like that, the competitive nature, the drive to win, the that personal drive for personal excellence. And these are the transferable skills that are definitely very evident in and innate to high-level athletes.
Yeah.
And they're definitely required for successful sales. And definitely something I relate to as well, because my career before executive coaching was in high technology sales, which were often, very long sales cycles, very complicated, all of that. So you needed the staying power, but you also needed that drive, and there needed to be skin in the game to win. And of course, as an entrepreneur now, as we move on to this part of your story, we need that drive that goes beyond passion to keep us started, even when the dominoes are not lining up. And I don't know, maybe your dominoes continue to line up, Alex, but I'm really curious to hear, this aspect of your story and how you are utilizing and leveraging social media, LinkedIn, for instance, which is where we originally met.
Yeah.
And to leverage how you build your story, your brand on LinkedIn, and leverage that to help you with those, to even get conversations with, with potential opportunities, with businesses looking for good people.
Yeah, definitely good question. And I use, obviously I'm very, as you would have seen, I'm very active on social media. The biggest advocate I'm for is LinkedIn. I think if you listen to one of my webinars on LinkedIn, and how not just athletes, but people should use LinkedIn to grow their personal brand and grow their network. I think LinkedIn's a wonderful and powerful tool. I don't know how correct this is, but I can see, I don't know, in the near future where PDF resumes become completely extinct. I think it's all about your digital footprint on LinkedIn, and instead of, on your resume, it might say something along the lines of great communicator, work for a communication department, or achieved X amount of sales, whatnot. Well, show me. Show me on LinkedIn. What blog do you run? What vlog do you run? Show me your videos that you've done. Who have you interviewed? Where have you been interviewed? Show it to me. So LinkedIn gives you a platform where you can show your skills, and it's proof of what you're good at. If you're a great communicator, let's see it on LinkedIn, because it's a wonderful professional networking tool. So just take advantage of it as much as possible. That's what I try and do. But to answer your question in terms of how I strategize, or how I go about using social media, and more specifically LinkedIn, by just being vulnerable, being authentic, and being real. That's it, honestly. Obviously, having a bit of a care factor about what people think, etc., etc. It's not. I don't want to go down that route completely, but it's almost like the Gary V model. I don't know if I'm not comparing myself to him or anything like that, but I love that dude.
He's quite a character, isn't he?
I love him on social media. I mean, he says it like it is. He's real. He's authentic, and love it or hate it. You're not going to please everybody. Don't try to, and please the people that you please. Great. So I just try and be vulnerable, be real, and be authentic. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, and I think this is the area that confuses people, is that, well, what do I post on LinkedIn? How do I show myself on LinkedIn? I get that I've got to have a profile on there. And I think particularly people working within organizations, there's more and more, suggestion that the hiring managers and the directors, the people within organizations, need to be developing their social footprint, their digital footprint on LinkedIn, so that their identity becomes familiar. And so that they will potentially be chosen then by candidates and people looking to work for good organizations. So the focus on how we show up, what we believe in, what we stand for, and perhaps what we don't stand for, as we're seeing, a lot of the terrible things that are playing out in the world at the moment. And so, one thing that that I picked up on your webinar that you suggested, I thought was really good advice, was the point about writing blogs and showing up as to who you are, because that is where the first place that hiring managers and recruitment companies are going to be looking at. Well, who are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And LinkedIn allows you, as you know, you can post your own articles and write your own blogs. So do it. Take advantage of it. And you're right. A lot of people struggle with. It's easy for me because I'm doing something I'm passionate about. Obviously, I'm highly passionate about this business. I'm highly passionate about the value that athletes can bring into organizations, and I'm very passionate about athletes starting to think about another career while they're an athlete and doing something about it, right? So it's it comes naturally to me, and inspiration for posts and blogs just kind of pop up in my head.
But you're also very skilled, Alex, at drawing out the so whats of a story. It's like the so what of your basketball career was, here are my success traits. These are the traits that make me a high-performing individual. I am driven. I am hardworking. I am passionate. I am a lifelong learner. I am hungry to become the best in the world at what I do. That is so ingrained in you. And that's what's carried through in your sales career. And this is absolutely what comes through in your passion and in your commitment to Athlete2business, which is a brilliant name, by the way.
Thank you.
It's so clear about where someone is to where you take them.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. So I think you represent a new breed of recruitment professional, actually, Alex, because by default, you are a role model and a mentor, as well as helping to get that match between company and client. The old days recruiter used to be like, and I know there's all sorts of AI and bots and, all of that computerization that happens, but the people element is only going to get more powerful. And someone like you, I think, could save a lot of time for hiring managers at a time, and also be far less likely to make mistakes because you are so sharp in terms of what match is going to work,
Yeah,
because you've lived that so thoroughly yourself.
definitely. And I think there's so, as you know, there's so much technology out there in the world, and I hear people often tell me that bots and AI and technology will replace recruitment agencies, et cetera, et cetera. I think at the end of the day, if bots and well, first I disagree with that statement. So, but at the end of the day, if bots and technology overtake the human race, then yeah, then they'll be in charge of recruitment. But I think us as humans, we're emotional beings. We like other humans. We just want to be connected. And I think that we live in a world, there's so much technology out there. I don't know whether we're losing that human touch or not. I don't know. I'm no expert in that. But I like to keep the human touch alive, and I like to work with people who want to work with humans and keep that human touch there, and real relationships. That's what I'm all about. I don't know how an AI or a technology can measure somebody's emotional intelligence or their just their essence as a human being. Do you know what I mean? Or a culture fit.
Yeah.
I think culture is a massive thing in hiring. You have to have certain values within your company, which you can write down on a piece of paper, but it's kind of like it's a gut feel. Do you know what I mean? It's a gut feel about a person. I don't know how a technology can have a gut feel about whether that person is right or not for someone. So I don't think AI. I mean, there's probably experts out there who think I'm completely wrong, and fair enough. Like I said, you're not going to please everybody, and not everybody's going to agree with you. But I'm sticking to my values and my principles, and that's the human touch. That's the culture.
Well, and as you are speaking too, I think with the advent of all this fake news, the internet is full of so many contradictions and different people standing for different things, and each of them have their own set of arguments, and you can listen to them all and actually find some sense in most things. And so I think with the advent of AI and bots and so much getting automated, I actually believe that the quality of the referral is going to be even greater than it has been. And traditionally in sales, in coaching, in recruitment, so much goes on. You know, if someone refers you in, you are 80% in, as opposed to a cold call straight away. And I guess this then touches on the other thing I find, that a lot of consultants and people in businesses also find difficult is networking and using social media or LinkedIn to do networking. So is this part of what you help people with as well?
Definitely. And again, I think LinkedIn's a great platform. I go back to the technology, but it's using the technology to create the human touch, right? It's a great platform to be able to reach out to a human and say, hey, this is what I do. I see you're in the same space, let's connect, et cetera, et cetera. There's different strategies and techniques that everybody has. But I'm a huge advocate, especially right now, all we can do is network online via platforms like LinkedIn and Zoom, like you and I are doing, to network with like-minded people as much as you can. And the best way that I go about it is to try and help people first. I think if you're able to help people in whatever way you can, it comes back tenfold for you. So maybe a lot of people try and approach networking, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, whereas it should always be what's in it for this person that I'm trying to network with, and how can I make their life, or how can I make their working life better? What can I help them with?
And we know that the primary reason that LinkedIn exists is for job hunting. It is for recruitment.
Yeah.
And there are all sorts of automated ways of sending out connections and things. I don't know how many I get every week.
Yeah.
And you just get the feeling a lot of people just automate those connection requests, and the next minute they're sending out, some kind of offer or something that just reads like spam. And and I get it that they're looking for the ones who might be ready to be doing something like that right now. But this is where yeah, I guess your advice around connecting is about finding something in common and looking, perhaps looking for ways you might be able to help that person.
Yeah, or or complement that person, or make it tailored. As in my daily job, I try and connect with hiring managers, with athletes as much as possible, and not to the point where I'm spamming. But I think if I take the time, instead of trying to connect with 100 people, you just copy paste the message or send automatic requests. I try and connect with 10 people. That's really, really tailored. I researched them. I found out a little. I did read a little bit more about who they are, what they stand for, and then I'll construct a really tailored message. And I think it's more powerful in connecting.
So there's that thoroughness and process again, and start with the end in mind. For what purpose are we going to connect?
Yeah, exactly. And that approach helps me because there are so many people out there who are doing it the way that you said. So it's refreshing when somebody doesn't spam your LinkedIn. It's refreshing. Oh, this is a real human. Let's talk to this.
Yeah. There you go. You see, and I guess in your Athlete2business work, then what would you say is one of your biggest challenges at the moment, work-wise, and how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously biggest challenge is number of roles out there is just declining given the economic status and everything going on. So just I'm really more well. Firstly, sticking to the process. I'm still a firm believer. If I don't know, if you make X amount of calls, do more. If you reach out to X amount of people through a tailored message, change your message slightly and reach out to more people. It's just sticking to that same process. Is all you can do is just keep going and following the process. And the other challenge, and being really smart in who you reach out to. Although yes, there's an economic crisis, but the wheels still need to spin. The economy still needs to go on. So somewhere there is elements that are still booming. Like I'm no financial expert or tech expert or anything like that, but imagine Zoom's sales prices are going through the roof right now. I don't think they're in an economic crisis, or companies similar in that nature. So I just try and be really smart who I reach out to. The other challenge is the most common type of candidates that I deal with are athletes who are transitioning from their careers as professional athletes into the corporate space. So typically they don't necessarily have a lot of experience in sales or, let's say tech sales or whatnot. But I am so passionate about the innate abilities, the high performing attributes that athletes have. And I try and find a company that has a strong onboarding process. So, 3 to 6 months of some serious learning to somebody who is highly driven. I always say, hire attitude and teach skill. That's my motto. So if someone's got the attitude to want to succeed, to be driven, is competitive, ambitious, doesn't necessarily have the skill set yet, but who's also very coachable, I'm a strong believer in if you just teach that person the skills necessary, they'll come out and 10x your company results.
And again, you have that track record yourself, so that's wonderful to be able to have that story, and that sets you up then to be that role model and to make that feasible for someone who is transitioning. So I guess we've sort of come to the 30 minutes, Alex. So I guess just if we were just to summarize, then if there were, say, 3 or 4 things that, anyone, whether they are the hiring manager looking for the best candidates or the candidates looking for their ideal role, what would you say are the top, say 3 things that they might be able to do that helps them to be seen as that, having that competitive edge? It's all very well to have the competitive edge, to have the high performing habits, but we've got to be seen somehow to, express that. So
number one is to leave a digital footprint on platform like LinkedIn and Instagram or Facebook as well, but LinkedIn is the professional networking platform. So leave a digital footprint.
So this is your blogs and videos?
Yeah, start a blog, post videos, articles, show your written and communication skills. I think that's one of the biggest skills that I'm sure a hiring manager will be looking for. And I guess if you're a hiring manager, again, the biggest things I know candidates look for is culture. So show your culture online. What's it look like? I don't know, interview some of your employees. Just show it physical evidence of what your culture is like online. And the other thing, this is, I guess, more advice for the job seeker. Stay away from. I would stay away from platforms like, ad platforms where you search for jobs, Seek or Indeed or anything like that. I don't want to downplay them at the moment, but I think there are so many people applying for jobs on Seek. It's just a plethora of resumes. I think where you stand out is by reaching out to the hiring manager directly and pick up the phone and call them. Find a phone number and pick up the phone and call them. That's what I would do. I saw a recruiter actually just post something on LinkedIn. I won't mention their name, but they were saying how there's a lot of people complaining about, I've been applying for all these jobs, but recruiters are just not getting back to me. They're just not getting back to me to say whether I've been successful or not. Well, it's not their job to get back to you. If you really want the role, call them up and say, where you at? Where am I at in the job search process? So how did I go in that interview? What's your thoughts? Because you need to be proactive. Like, you cannot be on the back foot and reactive. You have to be highly, highly proactive. And the third thing I'll leave you with, which probably should have been my first thing, is just safety and gratitude out of everything now. With everything going on in the world, just be grateful for your family, be safe, look out for one another. That's the biggest thing. I know we speak a lot. That's my number one. Sorry, we speak a lot about business and success and all that. But at the end of the day, just be safe and be grateful for what you have.
And that is such a great note to finish on, Alex. And I think it also comes back to, Michael Jordan's quote too, is, what was it? Something about you never achieve the goals you don't try for. Like and
you miss 1,000, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's the one. That's the one. And I wonder, and again, with social media, this is the medium of communication. We've got to master the skills to speak on video, to show what we stand for, to even decide what we stand for and talk about that. And yes, be bold and make those phone calls. And in fact, it just takes me back to my very first sales job, which was a pharmaceutical role. And I remember I wrote that letter. And I said, we need to meet because I believe I'm going to be the best person for this job. And he had that letter when I had the interview. And he said, this is what got you the interview.
That's
awesome. But we used to do that in the old days, the old-fashioned writing letters. Yeah. So I think a lot of that does get lost in email. It gets lost in the ether online. So we've got to get so much sharper in our personal brand, what we stand for. And I think that's something that you really demonstrate and exemplified just so clearly, Alex, that you've really, honed what you're best at, and you are adapting and flexing and taking yourself to even greater heights. And I'm really looking forward to what you produce and the value you create in the world, over these next 10, 20, 30 years.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to come on and the kind words.
Well, thank you. And how do people contact you best to connect with you?
Yeah, so connect with me on LinkedIn, Alex Opacic, Opacic. Follow us on the company page at Athlete2business, Athlete2business. Also Instagram as well at Athlete2business, and Facebook. Also, I'm fairly active on those platforms. So yeah, get in touch. Feel free to reach out for any advice, any way I can help.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Alex.
No, thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.